Okay. Okay. Now I'll give... Pardon?
So, can I say?
Yeah.
That was so much better than the first one.
Oh, thank you.
That was really good. I really like that. They're
I'm guessing
together. I was going to say married.
I was going to say married because the way they have a house
Yeah,
together.
they seem as though they're
Yeah.
and they're arguing about money.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You never change.
You kind of assume they're like a young couple because they're arguing like a young couple, and you don't see anyone else, so you kind of like think they live together, and they must be like students, like young adults, because of like money problems and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you know they must have a bad relationship if they're arguing the first time you see them. And then she says like, I can't handle you when you're being like this, so it must be like a recurring thing.
Based it around the couple, sort of like obviously sort of like subverting the genre. Obviously, you start thinking it's social realism with a couple arguing, then you completely change it into horror. So sort of like obviously that is out of genre, but it works in this context.
So did that sort of that help to shock you because you were expecting something a
Yeah,
bit?
definitely. Yeah. I think they're not typical of like horror films, but
Just seem normal.
But like I say again, yeah, sort of like that almost helps you because sort of like they're more relatable, so it could seem more like it could happen to you.
Yeah.
Were there any sort of specific aspects of them or what they were doing? Or?
I think sort of like the way, sort of like obviously you made the main character, the way he's arguing with his wife, sort of like in quite a harsh way, with just an ornament. Obviously he's a character not to be liked, but then you like completely subvert that image and make him vulnerable, so the audience like him, sort of like in a way, and they don't want him to be hurt. So sort of like it's quite a clever characterisation, and I think it really fits well with your story.
Went through it, and then you had the high pitched noise, and that drove me insane. And it's so much better.
I think definitely the music, sort of like the way you've added reverb to every sort of like sound, definitely makes it seem a lot more suited to the genre
tense,
rather than just pianos.
Yeah, it feels a lot more like something's gonna happen. Like it sort of sets you up for the genre.
Yeah, and it also makes you think more that like the creature is something more paranormal.
Something to be worried about.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
sort of like obviously not human, other than the cat.
Yeah, I think it seems quite different from a lot of horrors. Like, so obviously most horrors you see don't have sort of any of that sense of sort of happy music. They're pretty dark all the way through. But I like that. I think it just sets it apart. It's a bit different.
I think also the way you based it around the couple, sort of like obviously sort of like subverting the genre. Obviously you start thinking it's social realism with a couple arguing, then you completely change it into horror. So sort of like obviously that is out of genre, but it works in this context.
So did that sort of that help to shock you because you were expecting something a bit?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it makes it more creepy, especially the piano because it's so fast and really like high pitched.
Most horrors you see don't have sort of any of that sense of sort of happy music. They're pretty dark all the way through. But I like that. I think it just sets it apart. It's a bit different. Well, the music, because it's quite like, it's not happy, but it's like upbeat. So it really like contrasts to the viewpoint. So I thought that was really good.
So does that sort of help it frighten you in a way, or sort of what effect do you think that has?
I think it kind of messes with you.
Yeah, it lulls you into a false sense of security.
Because a lot of people would have not necessarily that exact music, but just general upbeat music normally playing at night or something, and then you kind of think, you don't really think something's strolling around outside,
Yeah.
and then
yeah,
it
makes it more relatable. Yeah. That was really good. Because the first time, it was just the sharp bites over and over again, and it made it kind of comical because it was so like, repetitive, and it just like made it really funny. But this time, because it's like different parts repeating, so it doesn't like. Late teens.
Yeah, young adults.
Yeah.
People like that, especially because like the way you've thrown in how like they're married and obviously they've got this house and money's obviously a problem.
So it's like they can relate to the characters.
Yeah, and it's more sort of like typical people that age, so sort of like people in the film sort of like reflect the age of the audience.
it would probably be more relatable to young adults, because young adults you tend to think of students, and then with students you kind of think about student loans and getting into debt, so having lots of money troubles and stuff.
So like the ages of the characters.
Yeah, and also because it's like an ornament, he has like £90 or something like that, and it's quite like it's really materialistic. Maybe someone who's older, like midlife sort of thing, wouldn't wouldn't buy something like that.
Yeah, because if you're like a young adult, you think I have control over my money.
Yeah.
So people will be able to be able to relate to that as well.
Yeah. Sort of shows that the film's going to carry on.
Yeah, it's like the establishing shot of the next scene.
Yeah, so we know that it's not just that's it sort of thing, which is good, especially for an opening sequence, because it's not too sort of, it doesn't give too much away. It gives, just the right amount.
Yeah.
To what make you want to watch the rest.
Yeah, and what was I going to say? Yeah, the way sort of like it brings it back to daylight, and obviously cat garden. It's all very sort of like typical of real life, and it sort of like brings it back to you that it's a more realistic event. Sort of like obviously the bit with the whole creature attacking him is quite supernatural and quite sort of fantasy-like, and the way it just like brings it back to real life makes it more realistic.
I think it's good because like the music, it leads on quite well, because when the music like goes down and then the bell rings, and I thought that was really good because like it just makes sense.
Yeah, it sort of like brings it back to reality.
Yeah.
Because it's just a cat walking around in a garden, really. It's just kind of normal.
Yeah, it like reels it back in, because otherwise if it kept going it would be quite like unrealistic.
Mm.
Sort of out of the darkness.
And quite slowly and like
Yeah.
And also
Quite eerie.
like the sound effects over them at the beginning, like the rain. It's like a gloomy night and all of that. It sets
Yeah.
the scene and that quite nicely. Top job.
Yeah, because like the candle, it goes down, doesn't it, and then it comes back up. It's kind of freaky.
And they blow it out.
Mhm.
That's really good.
What about the production logo? Is there anything like? Do you feel that looks professional?
Yeah, I
the
think that's quite
animation.
professional.
Yeah, I think it looks a lot professional from your original.
It's like eerie
Yeah.
and sombre.
White and red, sort of innocent versus dangerous.
Yeah, I thought it was good overall because you can always see it.
Yeah, even when it's dark, which it is mostly.
I like that bit because it kind of looks like there's like a line down the middle of the candle. Do you know what I mean? It's darker on that side and lighter. So on the darker bit, it's got the white bit, and then on the lighter bit, there's the red.
A lot better as well, sort of like it's there, because sort of like obviously when you did before, then you have like the candle on one side and burning wick next to it, and I think this
Yeah.
works a lot better.
I think it's really like relatable because there's a lot of mess around and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
It's kind of an average, everyday house. You can just kind of think of anybody really living in it.
So,
I thought the bit with the sofa was really good because the first time I saw it, I don't know if that was the same, but I didn't really notice it that time. But it kind of like it seemed like it stayed there for a bit longer, and then
bit?
continued.
Oh, in the
where
long
she's
shot.
lying on the sofa when it looks through the window.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't really get that before, but this time I was like, oh right, yeah, I get it.
But I know sort of like a lot of people my age enjoy sort of like being scared for some reason.
It's lots of fun.
Yeah, yeah, apparently. And so I think there's a lot of that in there, which they also like, which they would like, and they also like gore as well for some reason. Which
Yeah, it's like tension.
Yeah.
It seems I'd like to watch the whole thing.
His eyes, and then his teeth as well, because it's darker, and his skin looks really weird, and the like red, was it a red tint on his?
Around his eyes, yeah, red.
No, on his teeth.
Oh,
His teeth were like red. That was really freaky. But his eyes, because he doesn't blink, he just looks straight forward. It's really freaky.
I love that bit. That's like my favourite bit. Because like I like all the, I don't know, you must like use makeup or whatever, like around the eyes, how it looks kind of like red.
Yeah,
and then
like
his skin's like really
inflamed.
pale. It's
Yeah.
really-
Effects, like his lips as well. They kind of like blend in with his skin, kind of.
I think the shot there at the end, but you just got kind of a match on a table and the
Yeah.
scream's gone in the
Oh, that's
background as
good.
well.
Yeah.
It's kind of a very typical horror scene, but then it works well as well. So.
Mm-hmm.
what about the production logo? Is there anything like? Do you feel that looks professional?
Yeah, I
the
think that's quite
animation.
professional.
yeah, I think it looks a lot professional from your original.